gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish I would. Watch out now. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Everybody watch out. Watch out now. I'm ready for a good time, and I came to groove. The whole band's here, and we came to move. Got a fresh haircut and 2 new shoes. We're here all night like we got nothing to lose. Coming out the jacket, cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get up out your seat. It's time to make it happen when we hit these streets. I'm coming in hot, and I can't be beat. Watch out now. Baby, watch out now. Watch out.
What's going on, everyone? There we go. So, over the course of the past couple of months, and more recently, over the past couple of weeks, I've been getting a lot of, I've been talking to a lot of friends of mine who are school leaders, and even people who are just reaching out to me through LinkedIn and other social media platforms. And there's this ongoing question that keeps coming up. And this question, even though it's not fully formulated, has to do with leadership and how to better lead. And what does that mean? Specifically in spaces where leaders, whether you're a principal, assistant principal, or you're even an aspiring leader, as far as a teacher leader, master teacher, or department head, on how to navigate the waters filled with sharks. And what do I mean by sharks? I mean those people who exist in your school building, in your districts, in your spaces, that seem to do whatever it takes to prevent you from doing what you need to do. And the response I have to that is that they're doing what they're going to always do. There will always be those out there whose primary responsibility in their minds is to curb your leadership. But first of all, we have to define what leadership is. I think that is one of the biggest misnomers out there. There's this whole notion of educational leadership, instructional leaders, school building leaders, the leader of the individual, all those different things, all wrapped around leadership. But let's peel back, and if you listen to this right now, I might say some things that's probably going to be very uncomfortable for you, and you probably should just swipe left, right, turn, hit the little X, and shut your screen and not hear this. This is going to come from a place of love, but also a place of sternness, because again, these are things that I've learned over the course of my career, not just in education, but just across the board in working in different industries. These days, leadership is tied into a position. It's tied into a pay scale. It's tied into a societal level of acknowledgement of a position that you've retained. It might be degrees, whatever the case may be. That is leadership. So when we talk about school leaders or school building leaders, we're talking about the principal who has gotten the certification and the paperwork and has put the time in and has gone through the process of attaining that position, which now says automatically you are a leader. Same thing with assistant principals. The same thing could be said for a teacher. No matter how long you've been in the game of education, being in a position where now you are leading a team, or you are a department leader, a team leader, whatever that may be. That term itself, leader, is attached to a position. And it's interesting because many schools out there talk about how we're developing leaders with our students, right? We are giving them the tools to become critical thinkers, go out there and exercise their voice and be leaders. But it's funny how that image of leadership that we claim to be putting into our children in our schools, it's not the same expectation of leadership that we have for the adults in the building. Because we don't tell a child, if you are the prefect and you are a leader. We don't tell a child, if you're a student government president or you are in student government, then you are a leader. We tell our students, our children, regardless of age, from kindergarten to 12th grade and beyond, we tell them, you are a leader. Do what is right. Don't let anyone move you away from your responsibility as a leader. But we don't allow that to happen when it comes to institutional leadership, because it's tied into a position. I want you to ask yourself this question. If you are a principal, you're a superintendent, you are, any level of your department head, whatever the case is, if you are in a title position that says that you're a leader, ask yourself this question. What are the things that you do in your position that if someone was to follow you every day, just not every day, but someone would just follow you for 24 hours, they would say, wow, that person right there, regardless of their position or title, is a leader, is someone who garners respect of their community. People rally around them. They're willing to make those difficult decisions. If it might, garner protest from those that they are leading or those that they are subordinate to, because they're willing to do what is right, regardless of what the popular masses believe. Is that something that can be said about you if you were followed for 24 hours as a leader? I think we need to start moving away from this whole notion that because you have a position, you are a leader. You're not a leader. A leader is someone who, regardless of who's watching or who's not watching, has a strong philosophy, a strong belief system, is willing to fight to make sure that what is needed to be done, what is believed to be the truth, is always at the forefront of their practice. And unfortunately, I'm going to be honest with you, if you become that person or you're willing to live in that space, the chances are the work will become that much more difficult. It's funny because I've seen this. I've seen leaders, school leaders. I'm going to talk about principals. I've seen principals who've taken a lot of crap, a lot of mess in the midst of working to do what is right. Listen, I've been there. I was a principal, middle school, high school principal in two very difficult communities in the Bronx and in Brooklyn. And I was an assistant principal across 3 different schools. I was a dean across 3 different schools. So I've had the privilege of not having my thought process of my philosophy just be based on one extended experience in one community. I've worked across different states. I've been in communities of different racial makeups. And one thing I can say I've seen consistently is that what needed to be done had to be unapologetic for the success of that school community. I can tell you how many times there were complaints filed against me as a leader because I made a decision that was in the best interest of the child. I can tell you the number of times I was almost arrested by police because I was being asked to do something, that wasn't breaking that my refusal wasn't breaking the law, but it was an expectation because somebody of authority thought that I could be bullied to do something, take an action that wasn't in the best interest of my child or the parent of that child. And I was hands-on gun in the school building told that I was disobeying a lawful order. And I stood my ground. Because at the end of the day, what's important here is that no matter what we're doing in leadership, we're doing what is right. Stop being afraid. As long as you know the policies and the procedures and the rules to be followed, do not allow other human beings to dictate to you what right is, and the actions that you have to take to make sure that what is right is done. This is something that too often leaders are not willing to stand behind. And I'll tell you why they're not willing to stand behind. Because once you move into leadership as a position, the benefits that come with it, and there are a lot of benefits. When you become an assistant principal, you get paid more. You have that corner office. All of a sudden you get to dress nicer. You go from rocking the jeans and polos or the sweatpants to all of a sudden you're wearing the pantsuit. You're wearing that tie. You're wearing those loafers. Because now you have an office in front of the door that says assistant principal, Mr. or Ms. So-and-so, or the principal's office. You have a secretary. And all of a sudden your check looks much nicer than it did when you were not in that position. So what's the first thing you want to do? Hold on to it. You want to make sure you do nothing that's going to interfere with that positioning. But as a result, you make decisions that when you were not in that position, you would have been the first one to say, oh, no, that's not right. Why are they doing it this way? Because this is what makes the most sense for our students, for our school community. And the same thing happens with superintendents. You get into the position, and if you're not foundationally strong in who you are as a leader, as you define leadership for yourself, then what ends up happening, the position forces you to toe the line and make decisions that in your spirit you're not good with. I've seen this. One of the mantras that I always had for myself is that if I was going to be in a position as a leader, as a school leader, or someone who had the ability to shift the lives of children, of teachers, of those within my community, I had to be willing to fight for them. I had to be willing to be fired if that's what had to happen, because I was doing what was right. And do understand, I never once ever said, oh, I'm going to do this because I think it's right. One of the benefits of my training as a leader was always data-driven leadership, right? You look at the numbers. You ask yourself, what needs to be done to move this in the right direction? And if the district would come and say, hey, here's this math program that we're all going to buy into because this math program, blase, 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 we think is going to be the best one for it. But you as a leader knows that this is the need of your school communities. You've done your own research. You've done your own vetting. Your team is collectively have come up with a plan. And this other program right here is what's going to be right. This is the program that you're willing to invest in because you have community understanding around this. Do you go with that, or do you go with what you're being given here because someone else who might not necessarily know your community as well as you do, wants to go in that direction for whatever reason? And I've been in that position where I had to be like, you know what, I'm going to use this program. The one that my community, that we've sat down together, my team come up together and said, this is what we're willing to invest all our energy into. Did it sit well with my leader, my personal leadership and down up the chain of command? Absolutely not. But I did it anyway. Because at the end of the day, one or two things was going to happen. Either I was going to be wrong or they were going to be wrong. Somebody was going to be wrong. But my thing is this: if I'm going to be wrong, let me be willing to put 120% of my energy and my strength and my focus and the thing that I believe in, versus something that now I'm just gonna be like, oh man, this is not really in alignment with what my school community needs. And, man, but I can't say anything. But if I say anything, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to rock the boat. So I'm just going to go in this direction. Listen, if it doesn't work, they can't blame it on me because, this is what they told me to do. Too many people do this. Too many leaders do this. And what's the end result? Kids get screwed over. Teachers get screwed over because they're being asked to do something that you didn't believe in as a leader. They're looking to you, to your wisdom, to your courage, to your strength to do what is needed for them. But instead, you cower, you're afraid because you don't want to rock the boat. And listen, I know what I'm saying here is very unpopular, but this is something that is a truth. It's a truth. If you're watching this and you spend any time in that seat as a leader, a positional leader, with any level of personal leadership in your heart, where listen, I'm the kind of person that moves the needle forward. Outside of position, but we get into that position, all of a sudden, the accoutrements of the position becomes your reality. And you're like, whoa, I cannot risk that. And we wonder why so many of our schools are struggling. We have buildings that have more people with degrees and knowledge and expertise than most other places of businesses you would walk into. But the 7-Eleven on the corner is more successful than the school on the block with all that knowledge. Why is that? It is because fear is the undercarriage of leadership in the system, where you have to be careful to not push back and speak as a critical thinker. Think about that. How many schools say our mission, our vision is to develop critical thinkers, to make sure that our students go into the world are able to exercise their voices. And we tell them to fight for what they believe in. But only a few leaders in our school systems are willing to do that. Only a few. And I'll be honest with you, I think a few is way too many. And some say, you know what, I've been in the system so long and, they can't get rid of me. So now I'm going to start, now I can do what I want to do. But then I ask myself, do they not realize that it might be a little too late for those hundreds of thousands of students who who came through their leadership, under their leadership, and you didn't fight for them as hard? So again, ask yourself this question: are you a leader? And I'm going to challenge you by saying, if your leadership is tied into your position, then you are not a leader. You're just an employee. You're just a middle management. No offense to the person who has the position running a fast food restaurant, but if you don't have the ability to fight for your children and speak up and say, no, this is what my children need. Here's the data to support what they need. I've done the homework. My team, we put the money in there, and this is what we're going to do. If you don't have the courage to say that, then honestly, you're just middle management. Your job is just to keep the status quo and make sure that everybody within the space that you're leading in are towing the line. And what is the end result of that? Turn the evening news on. Go on social media. What should you be looking for when you go on social media? the number of fights, of attacks, aggression, chaos in our schools. Not even outside of school, not even after school or in the lunch yard. I'm talking about in the school during the day. Kids getting knocked out in the hallways, teachers getting attacked. In some cases, staff attacking students. Like it's like the wild, wild west in our schools. And that has to do with the fact that leadership is not being exercised, just middle management. Let's keep everyone corralled, right? Let's keep everybody in line. Let's try to minimize the damage. And that cannot be the reality. A truly successful school, a truly successful leader or leaders are those who are unapologetic in their stance and what they believe in, and they bring the whole entire community together under that same banner. Whether it's the students, parents, everyone's on the same thing, and there is no leeway. There is no space to say, well, in this situation, we will throw out what we believe in. And that's something that's very organic, that's developed by leaders who are truly leaders of themselves and their communities and don't require a title to be bestowed upon them to say that you are a leader. In New York State, the license to be a principal is called, or assistant principal is called the School Building Leadership, the SBL, School Building Leader license, right? Or certification. Think about this. How does a piece of paper make you a leader? It can say you have all the academic credentialings to be a leader, but you don't become a leader until you are willing to lose it all for what is right. Just look at our history. Those people that we look to in history and say these were our leaders: Dr. King, Malcolm X, John Kennedy, Jimmy Carter. And there's just a few examples. People who were in positions where their positioning was always in threat. But they kept on pushing forward because they had a strong belief, a strong ethos on what was right and what needs to be done for their school communities. All right, I had to get this off my chest because I've been mulling over this because I have a lot of conversation with colleagues of mine who and I appreciate all of you, and I hope I didn't put anybody on blast. I didn't use any names, but often, that's one of the things that people struggle with as leaders. The ability to truly be who they need to be to do the work well, to do their life's work, and how it's being challenged by the title and the position. But there's always that risk that I could lose my job, I could lose this because I said the wrong thing or didn't follow the status quo. But it's funny because we tell our kids every day in the schools that we don't want them to follow the status quo. We want them to be better. So you got to be better as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. You have any questions, please feel free to comment, ask, reach out to me on any of the platforms, whether it's on Twitter, LinkedIn, on Facebook, or on YouTube. And I look forward to talking to you more about this, okay? And yeah, that's it for right now. Peace out. We'll talk soon, all right? No doubt.